Hello, and thank you for tuning in. You are tuned in to The Encourager, and I am being encouraged to share more today from the journal, actually. And I don't know how many more videos I'll post today, but that's where I'm being led, so let's get to it. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're tuned in to The Encourager. My name is Nehru. And yeah, thank you, subscribers. Looking forward to being able to do live videos. We are able to do those. YouTube creators are able to do those once they reach 50 subscribers. So I'm looking forward to that. So let's get going. This is actually the second journal posting for the day, or it will be. Okay. Dolls to practice shoe tying. That was something that the ELC, the Rock Early Learning Center, was just getting started in 2016, and they were needing dolls, for the nurseries and things like that to help kids learn how to tie. Okay. 3-9-16. Faithful no matter what. Focus on this day. Okay. I was starting to see that my marriage was not what I thought it was going to be. All right. So I was being faithful to the place in the house that I was called to. That's the Rock of Central Florida. She decided that she did not want to be a part of that anymore. That was one of the many issues. So knowledge of the tree, De'ath, which is Hebrew. Knowledge gained by senses, never meant to be led by mind. Spiritual death by eating of the tree. Then knowledge comes from senses rather than by spirit. Prior man discerned. After man has had to learn, discerned, after man has had to learn. Logic never produced a miracle. That is true. Human reasoning replaced discernment post Garden of Eden. Life traded, right? Some very good points in there for sure. We definitely, things are energy, right? And spiritual. Again, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. You have been in other forms, including extraterrestrials. Some of you might be reptiles. But you have been in other forms prior to coming to this place as a human. Okay? All right, we live many lives. There's no way that one individual can complete all that they were meant to do in one lifetime. Okay? I don't believe that. Okay? So, and if there is one, then it's only the Ancient of Days. It's only Yeshua. If there's anyone who completed what they were supposed to do in one lifetime. He only lived here in this earth for 33 years that we are aware of today. There might be other reincarnations. Who knows? All right. So, changing the way I pray. No longer asking for authority. Okay, so even back then, no longer asking for authority, I didn't even know what I was saying. I have to say that. In some of these cases, I was writing things down that I didn't even understand what I was saying. Today, this means me understanding and knowing who I am, and I manifest what I want, right? And I ignore what I don't want. Resist the devil and he will flee. The devil is anything that is opposed to your desires and to your purpose, your prophecy. Okay? So, whatever that happens to be, the employment opportunity, if it doesn't ring true and right with your spirit, don't take the opportunity no matter how good the money is. Because you're going to be left out in the cold at some point. It's a deterrent. One of the things the prophet told me in 2014, he told me, wherever you put your time gets your attention. That's also where you spend your money. It's physical money or spiritual currency. That's where you spend it. And spiritual currency is faith. Okay? That is your spiritual currency. You pay for things, you purchase things with your faith spiritually. You want to know how you go from A to B? Spiritually, exercise your faith. Global priorities. There are global priorities, certainly for me today, and that is healing the nations. Exonerated. At the moment Yeshua rose from death, he exonerated man from sin, right? Corruption. But man has to take advantage of that opportunity. Okay? Man has to see that. Man has to work out their own trembling with fear and their own salvation with fear and trembling. Man has to do those things. Okay? 3:10:16. We were doing intercession in the morning during this time at the Rock of Central Florida. I think we would meet at like 6:30 in the morning on a Wednesday, and we were interceding. And there were several of us who were there every week for that, every Wednesday. Okay? Man ate of the knowledge. Now we process. Before we didn't have to process. In the garden, we didn't have to process. Man did not have to process. Today, humans have to process. Commanding, does that say commanding? Yes. Commanding, adding to who and what we each are. Okay? So let's keep going. And again, the right page I use for messages, for services, right? And things like that from Steve or whoever the speaker was when I was at that service, okay, at the Rock. 20 years, I never went anywhere else for a church service, okay. So this continues about the intercession. Man, I'm just getting a loud whistle in my right ear. Ooh, that's, yeah, real loud, higher than that actually. So anyway, 3:10, and continuing that intercession journal entry. If we go back to knowing him the way he knows us, would we need the written word? Again, I don't have a Bible. Gaston said that. He's a team pastor at the Rock, or team minister, whatever the word they use. Okay. And Sarah, who is, again, she's actually Steve's niece. Okay. She's a part of that house. Could we someday remember parts of stories in Scripture that are not written? Yes, Sarah, I believe so. Someone was talking about the I-4 eyesore. If those of you who do not know what that is, if you look up I-4 eyesore, you will definitely find out what that is. It's a building in Altamont Springs, Florida, that was purchased by a church probably some 20 years ago, and it sat vacant and half done and all of that for probably 10 years because they ran out of money. And I think someone else owns it now. Chris Myers, whose name keeps coming up today. This is the second time today his name has come up. Hello, Chris. I see you, buddy. That's the second time his name's come up today. So something's up with that. I will speak to what I see it as. I believe he slept with the scorpion that dismissed me. That's what I believe. Okay? And he is married also, by the way, and a part of the Rock of Central Florida. 3:11:16. I relinquish all of me. Yahweh's purpose, missions for me, has overtaken me. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. I remain relentless. Okay? 313. 313. Without righteousness, sons ruling in the earth as Yahweh intended, the earth is left to its own devices. We know what that looks like. What types of choices do any of us make without the guidance of Holy Spirit? Okay? Steve received his bachelor's in accounting. He was pursuing that for quite some time. He received that in March of 2016. Be careful to do. Oh, be faithful, careful. Be faithful to do what he tells me to do, and then I'll end up on the right side of glory. And that's something that Steve had said. Okay? All right, 3:16. A dream. Initially, Steve was talking. Then someone in the congregation says something, and I jump up and I say no. Jeremiah 29:11, one of my favorite scriptures. I also was born on 11/29. Jeremiah 29:11 says differently, is what I tell this person. I was in my underwear only. So this is what I've learned about my dreams. So whenever I dream, and I'm going to share a dream that I had concerning Kim, Steve Parker's wife, and she can attest to this dream. It was 12:12 when I looked at the timer on the video. She can attest to this. I shared a dream with her years ago about, and Linda had passed, her mother had passed at this time. Again, she passed in 2009. I always want to say 19. 2009, Mother's Day weekend. And Kim was definitely more interested in synchronicities and things of that nature than Steve was. Steve never adhered to that. I think he kind of swept those things under the rug, unfortunately, which is part of his setback, or delay. So I told her I was in a room and I was running around and I was in my underwear and I was saying, there's a change, there's a change, there's been a change, there's been a change, there's been a change. And this is probably in 2000. I'm trying to think if I had started dialysis. This had to be probably 2011 or 12 or something, probably. And she was standing there. It was her in that room, myself in that room, maybe one or two others that were a part of that house, but it wasn't very many people, and there was a white room. Okay, and I'm running around, and there's this table thing in the middle. I don't know what it was for. Operating, it looks like. And I'm just running around this table, and I'm saying there's been a change, there's been a change. And I told her that dream, and I told her that I was running around in my underwear. She was standing there, and she had this large book. And she was holding this large book. It was so big, she needed to hold it with both of her arms, like hugging the book, this large book. Eventually, I gave her a journal. At some point, I sold a journal into her. And we would sow things into each other at the Rock lots of times, whether it was money or something else, right? I gave her a journal, and on the front of the journal it said, "Are we there yet?" Right? And she told me that my running around in my underwear meant that, one, I had nothing to hide. I was coming in purity and sincerity, right? Genuineness. So, seeing that I am again having a dream, and I was just in my underwear, speaks to just my genuine truth. That pure nature. There's nothing hidden. There's no hidden agenda. I don't have anything up my sleeves. I don't have sleeves on. I'm standing here in I like boxer briefs. I'm standing here in my boxer briefs. So yeah, there's nothing to hide, right? And so again, another dream where that is the case. Okay. All right. And so 3:23:16. If we give birth to a spiritual, mature being, how does knowing this change our parenting approach? Again, I've asked this a lot of times, right? We are born spiritually mature. Our spirit man is mature, just the way that Adam was created, just the way Eve was created. Their spirits were mature and fully knowing the truth about why we were birthed into this place. Most people, I like that it's on spirit knowing. Spirit knowing. I know for a fact that we have to get our flesh man, after we take in so much trash into our orifices, we have to get our spirit man to that same ascended place that our spirit man is at. Okay? If we don't, then we stay in situations and live a life that is humdrum, that is lackadaisical, that is incoherent. Okay? That's what happens when we choose to live a karmic life. What does a karmic life mean? It just simply means not adhering to your higher self. You know you were created to do this. You're supposed to be on this path because that path is in you. You've known you had this gift since you were a child, whatever that gift happens to be. Singing, painting, building, constructing, changing, altering, adding, subtracting, creating, scribing, speaking, releasing, whatever that happens to be. We know early on what our passions are. The challenge is most people never, ever, ever marry their spirit to their flesh. And because that marriage never takes place, they stay in a divorced mindset from their truth. Okay? So don't divorce yourself. Divorce everybody else. Don't divorce yourself. Divorce everybody else. Don't divorce yourself. Divorce everybody else. That needs to be a song. What's my key to staying out of my natural mind, except when necessary, speaking to unbelievers? Again, these are just confirming things that I've already shared with us, and that is parables were used to reach the unrighteous, the non-believer. Parables do not need to be spoken to those who are awake. Okay? Parables do not need to be spoken to those who are awake. This is why when he said that you are to be born again, they did not understand because they did not believe in that time. They were not believers. What? How are we going to do that? They didn't believe. Nope. So I'm not afraid to go. I'm not afraid to stay there. Meaning, and it's interesting that I said there and not here. Excuse me. 327. 327 is a 9. I find myself in you, Yahweh. Okay. 4:12:16. Ambiguity, doubtfulness. Do I have it? Who has it? Ambiguity. Okay. Okay, 7:7:17. Right. Joshua Parker, who was Steve and Kim's son. They have another son that that was sold back into the earth and returned back to the father at infancy, at birth, actually. And so that's their rainbow baby. Internal bleeding. And yes, so he's an athlete. He could play any sport he chooses to. He's a gifted athlete. But he was going through back then. He actually played ball for, I think, a season with Ray Lewis's son at Lake Mary Prep. And I know Ray Lewis's son has passed since then. I believe it was that same son, I believe. But yeah, so he played at Lake Mary Prep for a year. But unfortunately, he was injured most of that year because he was dealing with this internal bleeding, which I don't know if they had discovered yet. But by the time I had written this down, they had, because Steve shared that with us. Okay. And then Joshua had to lay off of football. He was definitely on his way to a scholarship somewhere. He was still in high school at that time, back in 2016. Okay. Intercession for purposes, times, and seasons. The kingdom comes to destroy that which is forever lost, and that's death, right? That's why death has no sting. Yeah. O grave, where is your victory? I have ascended. What floors am I trading on that I should not be, and what floors am I not trading on that I should be? So The Rock was doing this thing, and I don't know how the message came to be, but it was called trading floors, and it was trading into others, right? And basically it's sowing into other people, again, any number of ways, right? And so that was something that The Rock believes in, and happens there often. Okay, again, it could be gifts, it could be money, it could be, material gifts, it could be something else, right? So yeah, it could be words of wisdom. Genesis 22:13, not sure what that was meaningful at the time. On 9:2:16, I am walking around some property. There is an older lady. Ooh, this is good. Okay, so there is an older lady that lives there. It's a lot of land, many buildings, barn-like. She has a German Shepherd. Somehow, I end up with the land. This is very interesting because there's an inheritance that's been stolen from me that is going to be returned to me. This is a true story, live in the flesh. I wrote this down on 9/2/16. Okay? In the flesh, this is going to happen. The lady moved or passed on. I know the lady passed. Today I know this woman has passed. I don't know who she is, but I do know, I believe I know, but this woman has passed. Okay? Her dog must have passed too, because she left him in a pile of leaves, but still visible. I kept walking by the dog thinking, why doesn't the dog stink? It's decaying. Why doesn't the flesh smell bad? Okay, I walk by. I thought he's going to live again. And that's always my thought process. If I see someone in a wheelchair, my thought is, do you believe you can be healed? That's how I am. And in fact, I was in the store one day recently. I was in a 5 and below, and there was she looked young, so I'm going to say young lady with a girl. This girl was maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, right? Walking with her. And I saw her in a wheelchair, and I was looking at the table of books. In fact, where I got the angel number book from. And that's the same day, actually. And so I got, she got closer to me. She was looking at books or something too. And I asked her, I said hi. I said, how are you? She said, oh, I'm good. Very kind of shy, soft-spoken, probably wondering what this guy is doing talking to her. And I said, do you believe in healing? And I asked her this out loud. I said, do you believe in healing? She said, yes. I said, okay. And I turned around and continued looking. The Holy Spirit was like, ask her if it's permanent or temporary. And so I did. I said, is the wheelchair permanent or temporary? She said, it's temporary. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. And I said, bless you. And that was it. And I kept looking through the books and I carried on my way. Okay. So, kept walking by the dog. Yep. Thinking the dog is going to live again. While in what must have been the house, I look up and here comes the dog. Resurrection. The dog comes in very skinny and limping after being dead or lifeless, motionless, for many days. I am surprised and a little scared, honestly. I give him a bowl of something. He walks over to it, and then I wake up. Okay. Very, very interesting dream. And again, that is going to be true. That is literally what is happening from whoever took the inheritance, whether it was Kevin, whether it was the karmic Scorpio. It doesn't matter whether it was with the sperm donor's brother and sister, Emmett and Sharma, or Anthony, or Tyrone, or Tyra, or Valerie, who is my niece, his niece, or my cousin, his niece. Whoever it is, whoever it is, Michelle, whoever, right? Yeah. So 9-2-16, again, I offer Tina, a jacket. Christina is one of the women who back in the 80s started or was brought in to the polygamous cult that the sperm donor had for 30-something years and produced 17 children. She already had a son whose name is Robert. Back then, he was an infant. But she was 19 maybe at the time, okay? But he brought her in and her mother and one of her sisters. Yeah, it was that kind of party. All right. Paul and David are her sons, biological sons that she had with the sperm donor. Okay? A jacket, coat for... Oh, so I give her a coat for Paul and David. So I am providing protection, covering, I am offering or extending covering protection for Paul or David. They are reluctant to take it. They don't have to. Again, Most High just offers his protection. We don't have to take it. He just offers it. I tell him, you might not need it now, but come October, you will. So you may not need it now, my protection, my unconditional love, but you will want it at some point in time. And when you do, you're going to wish you had taken it. You're going to wish you had treated it right. You're going to wish you had respected it. You're going to wish you had been honest. You're going to wish you had not been karmic. You're going to wish you had not functioned in Luciferian energy. You're going to wish you had not done evil eye spells against me. You're going to wish you had not done beauty spells against me. You're going to wish you had not done poverty spells against me. You're going to wish you had not done smear campaigns against me. Eventually, you're going to find out that because you did not take my protection, you chose to live a low vibration karmic life. You're going to find out that you really fucked up and you really should have taken the offer. You really should have accepted the salvation that Yeshua was offering. You really should have accepted the elevation that Lord of the Spirits was offering. You really should have accepted the promise that you prayed for. You really should have accepted the truth, but you didn't. So damn you all to hell. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, my name's Nehru. You've been tuned into The Encourager, and we are here for one thing and one thing only, collective, to help us all become our highest, purest, truest versions of ourselves possible. We do that through adding, and we do that through subtracting. We do that through tragedy, and we do that through victory. Thank you for tuning in. I was trying to see if what the conversation outside was and if it was pertinent to what I'm saying. That's what I was doing. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Nehru. Tune in soon.